All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about agency, but maybe not in the way you're used to thinking about it. We're going on a journey from the tiniest little twitch of a single cell all the way up to the grand dance of the cosmos itself, to uncover a kind of hidden logic that connects it all.
So let's start with a question that sounds a little out there. What could a little bacterium, swimming towards its lunch, possibly have in common with you picking out what you want for breakfast this morning? It sounds strange, I know, but the answer, well, it reveals this incredible hidden pattern, almost like a musical score, that connects every single living thing, and believe it or not, even stuff that isn't alive.
You know what's wild? This isn't some new age idea. We're talking 2,000 years ago. The ancient Stoic philosophers already had a name for this. They called this invisible organizing principle logos. For them, it was this rational current woven right into the very fabric of the universe, shaping everything from the inside out.
Okay, so to really get this, we have to start big. I mean, really big. We're not even going to start on Earth. Let's go to the coldest, darkest parts of deep space, because that's where this story of logic, of agency, actually begins. In stardust.
I mean, just let this sink in for a second. Thanks to incredible tools like the James Webb Space Telescope, we now know that the very building blocks of life, the alphabet of life, they're forming out there on tiny grains of cosmic dust before planets are even a thing. This isn't just some random cosmic lottery, no. This is the fundamental laws of physics already setting the stage, laying the groundwork for life to emerge.
And that right there, that is exactly what the Stoics were getting at. They didn't have these super-powered telescopes, of course, but they had this deep intuition that order doesn't just get imposed from the outside. It bubbles up from within, a self-organizing pattern. And that's what they meant by logos, this rational principle that pulls structure right out of chaos.
Okay, and this is where things get really mind-bending. Just look at how these ancient Stoic terms line up almost perfectly with cutting-edge scientific concepts. We've talked about logos, that pattern-forming force. But then you have pneuma, which they saw as this vital breath or energy. Today, we talk about organizing energy gradients in bioelectric fields. It's the same idea. And then there's sympathia, this idea that everything is interconnected. That's the modern language of network theory and ecological feedback loops. It's absolutely stunning. It's as if the Stoics gave us the philosophical language for a reality science is only just now beginning to describe.
All right, so we've been way out in the cosmos. Now let's zoom all the way in. I mean, way, way in, to see how this exact same organizing principle plays out at the scale of a single tiny cell.
So the Stoics had this fantastic term, the hegemonikon. It basically means the ruling faculty. They believed every organism, no matter how simple, has its own little command center, scaled to whatever it needs to be. And guess what? Modern biology is finding the exact same thing. We just call them things like control loops and feedback hierarchies, but it's the same principle of a tiny command center running the show.
And this is how that command center works. It's a beautiful, simple loop. First, you get an impression. That's just some sensory input, like a chemical signal bumping into the cell. Then comes a scent. The cell processes that signal, decides if it's important, and if it is, bam, you get an impulse, an action, a motor output. It's simply sense, evaluate, act. That fundamental cycle is what keeps a cell alive. And you know what? It's the same basic loop that keeps us alive too.
And here's the kicker. You don't even need a brain for this. This logic, this agency, is so fundamental that you see things that look a lot like learning in organisms that have zero neurons. Think about it. Single-celled organisms that learn to ignore a harmless poke. Slime molds that can literally solve mazes to find food. Even plants that know when dawn is coming and get their metabolism ready hours in advance. It's like a mind before brains, a distributed intelligence woven into life itself.
The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who is also one of the great Stoic thinkers, just nailed it with this. He basically says that if you're not in harmony with the reason of the universe, you're not going to last very long. But if you are, you'll thrive right along with it. It's not just some nice philosophical thought. He's saying survival itself depends on being in tune with this larger, rational pattern.
Okay, time to zoom back out. We've gone from the cosmos to the cell. Now let's see what happens when you get billions and billions of these tiny agents, each with its own little ruling faculty, all working together. You get something amazing, a kind of planetary intelligence, an entire ecosystem that thinks. And these are all stunning examples of that Stoic idea of sympathia, that deep, almost vibrating interconnection between all things. I mean, we've got fungi creating a literal wood wide web right under our feet, allowing trees to share food and information. You have fish that make deals with other fish. Hey, I'll clean you if you don't eat me. And then you have the famous story of reintroducing wolves to Yellowstone and how that one act re-engineered the entire landscape. It's a living social network.
So what's the whole point of this interconnection? Well, a healthy, thriving ecosystem basically acts out the stoic virtue of resilience. It can take a hit, a fire, a flood, and it bounces back. It regenerates. But if you break that interconnected logic, if you push it past a critical tipping point, the whole system can collapse. It loses its complexity and becomes fragile, just a shadow of its former self.
Okay, so we've followed this thread of rational agency from stardust to the inner life of a cell to the intelligence of a whole planet. And that brings us, of course, to us. To the most complex, powerful, and, let's be honest, dangerous form of agency we know of, our own. So where do we fit in this cosmic symphony? What's our role?
Well, the Stoics had a guide for that too, an ethical roadmap for how to use our agency wisely. They called it oikeiosis, and it's this really beautiful idea of expanding circles of care. You start with yourself, your own well-being, but then you naturally expand that circle to include your family, your community, all of humanity, and eventually, you embrace the entire cosmos.
And again, this isn't just some dusty old philosophy. This ancient idea is an incredibly powerful framework for thinking about our biggest challenges right now. That first circle, concern for the self, that maps directly to our personal health and what we choose to consume. The next circle, community, that's about fair trade and local policies. And that biggest circle, the biosphere, well, that's where we grapple with huge things like planetary boundaries and carbon budgets. It's a 2,000-year-old guide to 21st century responsibility.
So when you put all of this together, what's the big takeaway? It's this: our human agency, our ability to make rational choices, isn't some accident. It's not something that separates us from nature. It's the opposite. It is the current, cutting edge of this cosmic agency we've been tracing all the way from stardust. In a very real sense, our consciousness, it's the universe's way of waking up and becoming aware of itself.
Which leaves all of us with a pretty profound question to think about. This cosmic symphony, this incredible interconnected web of agency, is playing all around us, and it's playing right inside of us. So the only question left is, what part will you play?